I am back from vacation and I want to talk about video games because the whole time I was on vacation, I was surrounded by people that don't play video games and that don't like talking about video games. So the whole time I was going like super stir crazy. And now I just want to talk about a game that I'm looking forward to, which is Black Myth Wukong. Now, if you somehow don't know what this game is, it is an upcoming fantasy adventure game coming in the middle of August, set to release on the PlayStation 5 and PC. It is allegedly also coming to Xbox. However, they delayed the release of that version of the game, presumably because they can't get it running on the Series S. Don't come at me. I'm just the messenger, okay? Now, just the other day, we made a video on my second channel, Luke Stevens Live, where I talked about this game and some of the speculation with it, some of the people that are like calling for it to be canceled and all sorts of stuff that we'll get into later in this video. And in the comment section of that Luke Stevens Live clip that we posted, somebody was asking me, hey, when are you going to make a skeptical look video for Black Myth Wukong, because you tend to do it for big upcoming games. And so I said, that's a good idea. I should just do that, which is what this video is. And the goal of videos like this is simply to explore games that are up and coming, that have a lot of potential, and try to look at both sides of the equation for the game, the good and the bad. Because I personally don't think that blind hype gets you anywhere. If you're just blindly hyped for something, it's only going to disappoint you because no game is perfect. No game will ever meet that standard. Instead, you should look at the positives and the negatives, try to have a more reasonable expectation for what the game is going to deliver, and then play it and have a great time. Black Myth Wukong looks to be an extremely polished, graphically stunning action-adventure game with some boss fights to rival some of the top Souls-like games in the industry. Though they don't like being called a Souls-like game, they want to be called like action-adventure. Well, you know, we'll get into it. But the point is, the game is trying to do a lot, and it's coming from a relatively unknown studio, which is why I think a video like this is helpful, just to explore this and look at it more critically without just blindly getting ourselves super hyped. However, I will say that at the end of this, I think the conclusion is still gonna be the game looks really good, and I think you're right to be excited for it. I'm not seeing a lot of like red flags or warning signs for this actually being terrible. I've called a lot of awful games in the last couple of years and a lot of mediocre games, much to the chagrin of people that were really hyped for them. But with this, it just seems to be a really promising game from an upcoming developer that hasn't made something in this category before, hasn't broken into the AAA console space before, and it looks like they're just gonna have a really good game on their hands. But again, we'll go through all of this. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button. That actually does help, and make sure to subscribe so you get more videos like this of me rambling more often, which is good. I also have a big 8-hour Starfield video coming out later this week. At least that's the plan, if we can clear up this copyright problem that popped up with it. But once that clears up, it'll go up for everybody. So again, subscribe for that. But with all that said, let's get into a discussion about Black Myth Wukong. But first, a thank you to our sponsor, the one and only Holzkern. Holzkern is the luxury accessory brand that makes things for men, women, watches, sunglasses, even wooden handbags that are all built to highlight a tie with nature, using materials that you wouldn't typically find in jewelry of this type, such as very rare woods and even stone. I actually got myself a beautiful Tonomer watch, which is just gorgeous. This is made of koa wood and stainless steel, and it is as eye-catching as it is comfortable and beautiful. I can't stop gushing about it. I actually wore this watch out to my birthday dinner that we recently had with some friends, and I had 3 different people, one from our friend group and 2 strangers at one of the bars we went to, comment on this watch because I thought it looked so luxurious and premium, because frankly it is. So whether you're looking for a statement piece of jewelry that's going to catch eyes and start conversations, or you're looking for something to really differentiate yourself and express your unique creative side, Holzkern almost certainly has something for you. Furthermore, Holzkern offers a 24-month warranty on all of their watches, bandlets, and jewelry, and a 25-day money-back guarantee on all the products. They are just that confident that you're gonna love it. And most people do. After they were founded in 2016, they have already served over 1 million customers worldwide. And after getting one myself, I get why. Check them out at the link in the description box below or in the pinned comment, or scan the QR code here and make sure to use my coupon code to save 10% off of your order site-wide. Okay, with that said, let's get into it. Like I said at the top, I think Black Myth Wukong looks fantastic. The animation quality is stellar. The particle effects, I think, are top of the industry right now. Literally, I can't think of a game that has better particle effects in a real-time action-adventure game like this. It really is impressive. The set-piece design is really impressive. The individual bosses are varied and very creative on top of it. And the combat system, to a casual observer on the outside who hasn't played it, looks really, really good. But also, to people who have actually gotten their hands on the controller and tried the game, it apparently feels really good to play as well. And you know me, it's all about how it feels. That's crucial. Now, they've shown a lot of this game, even some like reveals such as this, which honestly, I think they could have kept secret. This is just like totally badass and cool. Big ass dragon you fight on a frozen lake. It's freaking cool. It's awesome. Look how fluid this thing is. It's outrageous. But they've shown a lot. The only things they haven't really delved into a whole lot is what you do between the boss fights, which I have just been referring to as like the connective tissues. So, you know, if you think of the game's bosses as being like bones in a creature, I want to know what the connective tissue is. Like, what holds the bones together? What holds this up and allows it to function the way that it does? Things like the combat system are there, but I want to know, like, what are you physically doing between boss fights? Are you running through narrow passageways? Are there just load screens where you load from one area to the next to fight a boss? Like, how does this work? And I'm okay with either of those. I think if this game just has really, really impressive top of the industry boss fights, and you just load into each one of them, and that's why you're playing, I'm down for that. I'm not expecting this to be like Elden Ring open world adventure, whatever, mixed in with boss fights. I'm not expecting that, but I just don't know what that connective tissue is. Because in all of the preview events or demos that I've heard people describe playing, they've played individual boss fights, and then they have somebody come in, load them into a second area to fight a different boss, and then they load to another area to fight another boss, because that's what really sells this game, which I totally understand. But I want to know what you're doing between those fights. There's been a couple of interviews here and there where the devs have said that there are levels that you'll explore on your way to boss arenas, but again, we just don't have a really good idea of what, say, 2 hours of non-stop uninterrupted gameplay looks like. The one exception to that was that IGN, VGC, and another outlet, maybe GameSpot, got to play 2 hours of Black Myth Wukong at Summer Games Fest as sort of an extended demo where they got to try the first 2 hours of the game. But in those preview events and the reporting on the 2 hours that they spent playing, they're not allowed to, of course, show their own B-roll or anything that they captured. And furthermore, they also don't really discuss anything about the connective tissue. They just say, yeah, the combat's good and the boss fights are good. So there's just not much to know. They know what the first 2 hours are like, but we still don't really know much of anything about it. You'll also see some comments if we scroll down. IGN doesn't even deserve to review this game. Still no apology for the intentional mistranslation. IGN's apparently deleting some comments, all sorts of stuff like that. You might be wondering what those comments are about, and let's just say we'll get to it. Now, having said that, a lot of people have gotten their hands on the game, have tried it, and have had nothing but positive things to say about it. And actually, Joe Raptor, who I co-host a podcast with, the Free Roam podcast on Spotify, you should check it out if you're interested. He actually got the chance to try Black Myth Wukong at Gamescom last year. That's right. Last year. And this is something that is true of many, many journalists and content creators out there, which is that this game has been playable at many venues for years. They have been very open and welcoming towards people wanting to try the game and just see if it is as good as it looks. And everybody who's tried it agrees that it looks and plays that well. And here's where I'm at with that. Like, there are, of course, exceptional cases like Cyberpunk 2077, where a lot of content creators got access to that game early, played it, and hyped it up even more, and then it ended up being a total disaster. But that was just that. It was an exceptional example. It's an exception to the rule. 99% of the time, when everybody unanimously agrees that a game is either really good or really bad, it's probably because it is really good or really bad. If everybody agrees that a game is a 0 out of 10 dumpster fire, chances are it's a dumpster fire. In the same way that if everybody agrees that a game is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, like an Elden Ring or a God of War Ragnarok or a Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, chances are it's because that game actually is a masterpiece on the whole. Like, that's just generally a fair assumption to make, I think. And in this case, everybody who plays this game says that it's phenomenal. And so barring some sort of really bizarre occurrence akin to what we have with Cyberpunk, that probably is a good indication that the game just plays really, really well and probably will be pretty good. With a lot of skeptical look videos that I've done on this channel, we don't actually get the chance to delve into the nitty gritty of people's perceptions of the game. Like, for example, when I did a skeptical look video at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, when I did that video, nobody had really been openly allowed to play the game. There weren't any open betas or previews for press or content creators. The only people that got the chance to play the game early were select journalists who reviewed the game very poorly and 3 streamers that were paid to play the game. And because they were paid, they weren't allowed, obviously, to badmouth the game or provide any, let's just say, constructive feedback in that session or period, because they had received compensation for playing the game and sharing it with their audience. So there wasn't really any honest feedback to garner from any of that other than the journalists who played it at that preview event, which was a bit of a disaster for Warner Brothers. But in the case of Black Myth Wukong, we actually have years of examples of people playing the game and having nothing but positive things to say about it, which is very, very promising, and I think goes a long way to suggesting that this game actually is as impressive as it looks. The only real potential hiccup for this is the fact that the developer is relatively unknown. If you aren't familiar with them or haven't heard of them, they are a studio called Game Science, and previous to this game, they actually have put together things like mobile games that apparently have just printed money and made ridiculous sums of cash. And they've taken a lot of that money and they've decided to go and break into the AAA console game space and bring a big game like this to PC as well. And as you can see, you know, Game of the Year, Best of 2017 App Store, like they've made mobile games, they made a lot of money doing it. And so now apparently they're just looking to stretch their creative muscles, attract more talent by making a big game like this. And it actually seems to be working. So normally for me, the red flags would be monetization. If a company is mainly known for mobile games and then they come and try to make a console game, I would be worried about monetization. But as of right now, there is nothing disclosed. There's nothing that's been said about any sort of egregious monetization scheme. It doesn't look like they're doing anything like, you know, draw a card pack for $5 and then you fight the bosses you draw from that. Hope you get a legendary pull or something. There's nothing like that in the game as far as anybody is aware. So there's no reason to really ring the alarm or anything. Like there's just nothing like that in the game as far as anybody is aware. So yeah, that's good. One of my other concerns would be with like grind or graphical fidelity. If a company was previously known for mobile games of all things, those would be concerns I'd have. But again, demonstrably, Black Myth Wukong is not lacking in the graphics department. And in terms of grind, it just seems that there's a bunch of difficult boss fights that you can engage with and have fun with them. Like it just doesn't seem to be really in the same wheelhouse as their other games, which is abnormal typically when a mobile game developer moves into console or PC. Usually they just make basically mobile games for those platforms and they're really, really bad. But in this case, it actually does seem like they're making just a really solid game. Again, based on what we know now, maybe that'll change. Maybe they'll announce they're doing something incredibly stupid in the next few weeks. I don't know. But as of right now, there's no reason to think any of that is the case. And I mean, come on, they actually met with Tom Conks from Android. They met with him and he's here talking with them. I don't know, did they bring a mobile game or something to iPhone. Maybe. I don't know why he's there, but apparently, I mean, it's him. He's there. But Luke, haven't you heard? The studio is going to be canceled. They're terrible. You shouldn't support them, blah, blah, blah. Haven't you seen what their logo is? You must be talking about that IGN article that everybody in the comment section of that IGN preview were so upset about. Well, you see, to break this down, like I've gone back and forth on how to handle this because I frankly find the article to be fairly distasteful. And that's not a pun. That will make sense in a little bit. It's because, like, it doesn't seem, in my opinion, to have been written in good faith. It seems that the authors decided that they wanted to attack game science for being sexist, and then they started hunting down evidence to support that conclusion, even going so far as to maybe bend some translations a little bit and be very uncharitable in some of the nitpicking and things that they've pulled out, and to even go so far as to really go out on a limb with the logo complaints. Again, this is very vague. Let's just clearly describe what we're talking about. So here I have the article pulled up from IGN. This is archived, of course, so they don't get any ad revenue or anything for it. But as you can see, it's basically a big breakdown of how the developer has a history of sexism and all sorts of stuff. And to support this argument, they go back to like 2013, 2012, like they go pretty far back with all sorts of different posts, even in like 2007, all sorts of different things. But they go back years and years and years to try and find social media posts from people that either co-founded the studio or work as artists or directors and things like that. So they were trying to find people in positions of power within the studio and look at their social media from years and years and years and years ago to try and find things that were quote unquote problematic. And let's just say some of the quotes that they found and then put through, I don't know, like Google Translate or something. I really don't know how they got some of these translations. They got out text that just doesn't frankly make sense. I'm not going to read this out because then the closed captions will capture it, and then I'm going to have a hard time like getting this video to go anywhere into anybody's inboxes, but you can read this text and it doesn't make sense as a sentence. Like it just doesn't make sense, which if I were the journalist, quote unquote, making this article, I would look at that and be like, okay, that text didn't make sense. Maybe my translation's wrong. And then I'd go and try to figure out what the correct translation is. But instead of doing that, they just ran with it and they said, okay, good enough. That proves our point, sort of, that this company's sexist. Let's run with it. And they do that a lot. They have some examples which, without a doubt, showcase some crude discussions from some of the people involved with the game, like the senior artist that worked on it. Some discussions that are just honestly, frankly, cringy and weird. There's this one where they talk about finding a particular location for men and women. Again, I'm trying to be coy to preserve the integrity of this video's AdSense. But even some of these, like this one, if I use a different tool than what they used, if I use something like ChatGPT 4.0, okay, so I've got this pulled up. I'm just going to take a picture of this screen with the text on it, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to translate it, okay? Can you translate the text in this image to English? And we'll let it do its thing, okay? Real time, no cuts, no faking the translation or anything, okay? It spits it out. So as you can see, the text that they translated was, the snake spirit is different from what I imagined, but if I cover the bottom half with my hand, it's still possible to play with the snake, let's just say. You can read it yourself right there. If we pull this up, I'm holding it up like a boomer, you can see the snake spirit is not exactly what I imagined, but it fits well within the context. It's acceptable. Like two very different translations. If I go with one, they sound pervy. If I go with the other, it just seems like a normal social media post. So obviously, one of these translations is wrong. Now, after I did a recent video on Black Myth Wukong, I actually had some people that speak the language natively reach out. Some people in the comments, and some people even sent me direct messages and emails, which I appreciate very, very much. I didn't hear back from the people that sent me DMs if I could share their messages publicly with all of you. So instead, I'm just going to show you some comments we got on that video that we did. You can see this one right here from Garbage GG. Hey Luke, native Chinese here. As I read the context of the director's recruitment post, which is written in self-deprecating humor, I have to say as a Chinese woman, I do feel some of the words he uses are really vulgar, but I and anybody who brings a brain understand the difference between vulgar and being sexist. The IGN translation is unprofessional and spiteful by twisting the meaning of the whole thing. Thanks for you guys paying efforts to digging the truth out. Respect. Much appreciated. And apparently Thanos 43 Infinity also mentions it's definitely an intentional bias when you see that the same journalist also criticized the lack of women in Black Myth Wukong, which is like you're playing as like an actual like monkey. Like this was never attempting to be like the most like diverse you know, why am I even explaining this? Yeah, no, maybe they should just pivot and they're like, yeah, that giant dragon you fight, well, she is actually from an impoverished family and she's half blind and also has chronic heartburn. So she just checks off a ton of boxes. That's what they should do. They should come back out with a ton of like the check boxes and everything, just show how many each of the bosses tick so that they can't be upset about it. But listen, going back to all of this, if there is a sexist, toxic prick that's working over at Game Science, I'm not going to defend them. Like, if you're a sexist piece of crap, like, you're a sexist piece of crap. Like, I'm not defending you, loser. Like, I don't think anybody would, you know? But when we're talking about a video game, we're talking about the video game. We're just talking about whether the game looks good or not. And I think people are just so sick of purity tests for anything and everything in their lives. Like if they want to play a game because it looks fun to play as a monkey man attacking giant tigers and dragons and bears, that doesn't mean they're a bigot. Even if somebody that did some artwork for the game might be a bit of a prick himself. Like even if we follow through on all of these and accept the conclusions, that doesn't even get us to the conclusion that they're trying to lead you to, which is that this game is probably one to bypass because the developers are terrible or something. Like even if you accept everything that they give you here, it doesn't actually lead to that conclusion. But it gets like so stupid. I am not joking with this next one, okay? You're gonna think I'm joking. I am not, which is why I have the text pulled up here. Their final piece of evidence to show that Black Myth Wukong is being developed by a sexist company is this right here. Finally, there's the Game Science logo. Several Chinese netizens have pointed out that it resembles a sperm. Game Science has yet to confirm or deny this finding. Now, if you're wondering what this is in reference to, I can pull it up in real time. This cannot be real. This is like idiocracy through and through. But here we go. Let's pull up the website. Here we are on their website. If we scroll all the way back down, you can see the building with the logo there. To me, it looks like a projectile from this mobile game that they made. Like it looks like one of these like not AoE, but whatever projectiles that they fire. To me, it looks like that. This mobile game they've made tons of money on. Maybe they used a projectile from that as something in their logo. I don't know. But to me, I don't see this as a sperm. But let's even, again, with these types of articles, if you just follow it through, like, okay, let's accept what you're saying. I don't think you're right, but even if we say you're right, you're still wrong. Like, how is it the case that if this is a sperm, if we say that this is a sperm, I can't believe we're talking about this. Even if we accept that this is a sperm, how does that mean that the studio is sexist and therefore the game should be canceled and we should all boycott it and blah, blah, blah. Like if this were a logo of just fallopian tubes, would we all be like calling for boycotts because it's sexist against men? I get, like, again, what are you even arguing here? It's such a stretch, but you see what I mean when I say that it feels as though they started with the conclusion that game science is sexist and terrible and awful, and then they went out looking for social media posts from over a decade ago to the logo maybe looking like some sort of biological material that is natural in men. Like, it's really bizarre. The whole article is shocking, and it just feels very, very contrived. And I don't really know why. I've had people come into our live stream chat and tell me that there's speculation and stuff about maybe the devs not working with IGN for some sort of marketing. I don't know. I haven't seen anything conclusive. So I don't know why they're throwing a fit about this, but it's really, really weird. And it just feels dishonest and bad. Hence why we're only looking at this article through like archived means, because it maybe is just rage bait and they're just trying to get people to click on it for the sake of clicks, which this bypasses. But I really don't know. It's just odd. And the whole thing is stupid to me, because again, even if we conclude that all of this is true, which I don't think it is, I think a lot of it is mistranslations and stuff that's done sort of intentionally to lead people down a path that is not fair. Even if we accept everything that they say, it still doesn't lead you to the conclusion they want you to be led to. So honestly, at the end of all of this, I'm just left feeling as though this is a really cool game that looks really cool and seems to play really, really well, that everybody who touches really enjoys. And there are some people that are trying to like tear the game down for some reason that I'm not aware of. Maybe if you know, leave a comment. I might have missed an article or something, but I just don't know what they're complaining about, because everything that I've seen looks awesome, and I am excited to check out the game when August swings around. But let me know what you think of Black Myth Wukong. I'm sorry we had to talk so much about the stupid IGN thing, because it's it's like such a stretch. And in all of IGN's articles now about Black Myth Wukong, they link back to it. They're constantly referring back to it. It's like, stop trying to make fetch a thing. It's never going to be a thing. You know, that's the vibe it gives, is that they're just trying so hard to gin up some sort of controversy about the game for some reason. It's really, really bizarre. Again, if you know why, if you have any idea why, let me know in the comments, because I and a lot of other people I'm sure would like to know. Because I feel like there's something missing. Like there's some big piece of the puzzle that would explain why they're so hell-bent on trying to get the game canceled. You know, I just honestly don't get it. I feel I'm just out of the loop. But anyway, thank you for watching. I am going to go to sleep because I just got back from vacation. I'm like a little bit more crispy, as you can tell. A little bit, I'm less sour cream. Or is it the lighting? Oh, no, that's tan, baby. That's tan right there. I didn't think I could tan, but apparently I can. So I just got back from vacation. We've been up since like 2 a.m. this local time. So I'm very, very sleepy, and it's only 3 in the afternoon. So I've got to, I got to get some sleep. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you for watching. I love you all desperately. Again, like the video if you enjoyed it. Go check out Holzkern watches. I love mine. I have been wearing it all sorts of places. Even when I wore it out on my birthday dinner, people were complimenting it. Like, I freaking love this thing, and I recommend it highly. So go check them out. Thank you for watching. I love you all desperately. Make sure to subscribe, because I have an 8-hour Starfield video coming out in the next week. It's gonna be a big boy. But yeah, I'm bad at outros. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.